begin speaking. We've been cleared for takeoff and we'll be departing shortly.
Go ahead and give that man a round of applause.
That boy's got talent.
Howdy y'all, howdy y'all, howdy y'all. Welcome back. Craft and Trade ENT. We're going to do a little short tutorial on the ProQ3 equalizer. There's a new version of it out now that probably has some additional features, but we're going to go over just a few things about how this works. Now, I mean, at face value, FabFilter can be used as a traditional EQ. You can double click in the spectrum to place a set point. Over here, you can do your different types of shells and things like that. But let's go ahead and get rid of that one for right now. I'm not going to really get much into how you use a traditional EQ, although, I mean, you can, just to kind of quickly touch on it, you can boost here or cut here. You can boost here or cut here. You can frequency sweep there or down here. And then you can change the Q, the preciseness of the frequency boost or cut, or you can make it broader where it affects the frequencies around it more. Or you can hit control and hit and drag up and down here to do that. Same thing you can do here with the Q. But I really don't want to go into that today. What I want to go into is some of the other features it offers that some other EQs might not offer, and how you do it with this particular plugin, the FabFilter ProQ3. So one thing I want to go over here is the dynamic EQ, because I really think it's a pretty cool concept, and it might change your approach to mixing a little bit, because in a way this could replace a compressor in certain scenarios and maybe do a better job of what you're trying to accomplish using dynamic EQ versus a compressor. So what's dynamic EQ? We'll place a set point now. We'll explain it as far as how I understand it. Okay, so you have your traditional EQ here. How do you change it to a dynamic EQ inside of FabFilter? What you do is you go down here where this ring around the gain or reduction knob is, and it will illuminate red. You'll drag it down and you'll see that you get this second slope, and that is your dynamic range, meaning the capacity, the maximum capacity of reduction that's going to take place. You're using the dynamic EQ. So that's going to be the dynamic range from here to here. Now, as far as how it works, you'll see once that frequency goes above this threshold, so to speak, you'll see that you'll see this yellow line come down. That's the EQ reduction on that frequency. So I just have a vocal pulled up here and we'll listen to it.
I've kissed the clouds, I've been both these down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk. I'd have had old friends do me dirty for no reason at all. Still, I gotta stand 10 feet tall.
So as you can see, as I pull this dynamic range up and down, it changed how much reduction of that frequency was possible at its max. But that's using the auto threshold. You can manipulate that manually by clicking off of auto, and you'll have a slider here. That's the threshold. So let's do it again, but use the manual threshold.
I've kissed the clouds, I've been both these down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk. I'd have had old friends do me dirty for no reason at all. Still, I gotta stand 10.
So as you can see, when I had the fader all the way up here, it was doing no reduction. And as I pulled it down, you saw that it started to act on it once it got to that threshold that I actually set. So the three parts of it are, to me, the threshold manually, the dynamic range, meaning how much you're going to allow it to reduce, and then also, the frequency that you're trying to. If you use auto, you can use auto, but I prefer to use manual because I want more control over what I'm actually doing when that frequency is reduced. And you can do that numerous times. You can go over here and set another one and do the same thing you did here. Just drag it down and change it however you see fit. Now, on the flip side of that, you can use this as an expander as well. You can either drag it up using this, or you can go here and bring it up. And it works the opposite way. This is going to be the dynamic range of how much gain is going to be possible to add to that frequency. We'll go back to auto just to give you an idea of how it works. And then once again, I will show you by using the manual slider on the threshold.
I've kissed the clouds, I've been both these down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk. I'd have had old friends do me dirty for no reason at all. Still, I gotta stand 10 feet tall.
As you can see, the yellow line is boosting instead of cutting now. And that's using the auto threshold. But now let's use the manual threshold, and you'll see what it does.
I've kissed the clouds, I've been both these down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk. I'd have had old friends do me dirty for no reason at all.
So as you can see, once the threshold was exceeded using the expander, that's when it started to add gain to that frequency instead of reduce it. So that also is a function that you can use with the dynamic EQ. Now, to kind of go a different route here, and give me just one moment. Let's say that you have a stereo signal. In this case, I'm just slapping it on a 2 mix, but this is just to show you what you can do. You can use this on any stereo signal you have, and that is what I call mid-side EQ. I have a TK-lizer, a piece of hardware that I use to do that, but this is possible, and it does a great job of doing it as well. So what you do is you obviously make sure that you have this that it is stereo over here, and then you right-click on the set point and hit split, and then you see that you get a left and right channel. So what it's done is it's split that channel into 2 channels instead of just doing an EQ boost or cut that just affects both channels unilaterally. This splits it and gives you just a little bit more control, where you could say in the right channel, maybe I want to boost at this frequency, and in the left channel here. And that can come in handy like on a synthesizer or something where you want to possibly make room in the left channel for another instrument that's not going to be panned there in the right channel. So you would want to EQ to occupy whatever space you wanted to achieve in the right channel, and then in the left channel, maybe do an EQ cut or whatever it is you're trying to achieve to make room for whatever you're wanting to do in the left channel, or to boost something differently. It gives you more control, and you can do that as many times as you want as well. You can come over here, split it, do it again. So that is another function it has, which is mid-side EQ. Now, one other thing you can do with it, which a lot of EQs can do this, or I guess I normally would use a compressor and sidechain into a compressor. But the cool thing about the ProQ is that you can sidechain into the dynamic EQ. And what you do is you go up here to where this key is at, and you select, what I'm going to do is select one of the vocal tracks output as the trigger for the EQ to do the dynamic cutting or boosting. So what you want to do is, and give me just a moment, you're going to turn the EQ into a dynamic one, and then you're going to go from auto to manual. You cannot do this in auto. You have to change to manual. And right here, I don't like where they placed this. Honestly, I don't understand why they didn't place that to engage the button to engage or disengage the side chain in particular up here by where you actually select the key input, but whatever. They stuck it here. So you go ahead and make sure that's blue. And now what that does is that accepts the Verse League comp track as the trigger for the dynamic EQ versus it using whatever signal is on that track to trigger the dynamic EQ. And I will show you what I'm talking about. Let me make sure I have that unmuted, which I do.
I've kissed the glass, I've been both knees down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk. I'd have had old friends do me dirty for no reason at all. Still, I gotta stand 10 feet tall. No retreat, no withdrawal. I'm a dog. Mama told me something hard, he gon' be the death of your boy, I'm telling.
So you can see that this is reducing in unison with the vocal. Let's listen to it again just so you can visually see it.
I've kissed the glass, I've been both knees down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was every.
So you can see that that reduction is happening from the trigger from the vocal. Now, if I undid this side chain, it would be using the dynamic EQ cut based upon the actual instrumental that's on the track.
I've kissed the glass, I've been both knees down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me with a smirk.
Now, once again, with the side chain engaged.
I've kissed the glass, I've been both knees down in the dirt, and it hurt. What hurt even more was everybody staring down at me.
So you can see then it goes back to using the vocal as the trigger to do that dynamic EQ cut, which you could use that, like in this case, if you had a 2-track instrumental where you really, normally any EQ change that you would make would be done to the entire track. Whereas this, if you use the sidechain capability, then you would be able to specify and single out where that vocal or whatever instrument you're trying to do with the sidechain kind of resides and where it shines, and try to cut a pocket out of that 2-track to accommodate for that. But if the vocal's not present, for that frequency to come back up and fill that spot. And so you could use this to do that. But in the real application would be if you were mixing and you had stereo tracks and you were wanting to try to EQ those around each other and sculpt them so they fit together like a puzzle piece. You could use key inputs and this dynamic EQ to do that. And once again, you could use the dynamic EQ to boost as well, using the same exact technique that we use for the cut. So I know I went through a lot there and I kind of breezed through it, but I didn't want to take a lot of your time up. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and I hope that they have a safe and fun Happy New Year. But I hope that this kind of got you acquainted with the ProQ3 and what it's capable of and how you can use those techniques in your mixing process. I want to thank y'all for spending a little bit of time with me. Peace and chicken grease.